Hey guys, Paul Argueta. Today, I'm going to cover with you the complete guide on how to cold call in real estate. Thank you for visiting our channel. Make sure that you subscribe so that you can get all the latest videos with all the latest tips and trainings that we have to offer. In addition to that, make sure that you also ring the bell right next to the subscribe button. The minute that you click subscribe, there's a bell. You click on that and it will alert you the minute we upload our latest and our greatest content. Let's talk about cold calling. I didn't like it 20 years ago when I started my career, actually more than 20 years ago. I don't like it now. I didn't like going to basketball practice over 20 years ago. Well, give or take 5, 6, 7 years. I didn't like going to basketball practice then. I loved playing in the games. And I don't like going to the gym now, but I know that I feel better, I look better. Well, that also can be argued. I look better and feel better when I go to the gym now. I don't like cold calling. Most people don't like cold calling. I get it, but it's a part of our business. And it's something that you can't really escape. Let's talk about a service called, I'm gonna say that it's called MELP, right? MELP. And their logo is a red triangular logo. It's well known for their online reviews of restaurants, and now they're moving into the service industry related sector, right? Now, if you have entered your information on their portal so that you could also build your profile on their portal or even try some MELP advertising, right? Did they not contact you? Did they not call you? How many times a day did they call you convincing you that you should be purchasing more online ads for their review service, right? It works. Cold calling works. You can't dispute this because other industries are using it and they're using it on us. And so if they are using it on us as real estate practitioners, shouldn't we also be incorporating cold calling as part of our active marketing strategy in addition to our passive marketing strategy that we're building on the back end? Absolutely, we should. So, I'm going to be giving you all the tips that you need. I'm going to give you the complete guide on how to cold call. And am I an authority on this? You better believe it. I've built a 20-year career on the phone. In addition to that, I've built a almost 10-year now brokerage over the phone. And I'm going to teach you everything you need to know to become proficient on the phone and earn 6 figures in the next year cold calling while you're building your passive marketing strategy up on the back end. Step number 1 in the complete guide to cold calling for real estate agents. Go to the office. That's right, I said it. Go to the office. Look, I know that you can get a great workout at home. You can, right? But the truth is, I personally, I'll speak for myself, get a better workout when I go to the gym. Why? Because I know that I'm committed to actually getting the workout done. At home, I can kind of cheat a little bit. It's easier for me to take longer breaks. It's easier for me to run to the fridge to go get some water or maybe get some Gatorade or even to get like an energy drink. And I've noticed that I find little ways for me to skimp on my workout at home versus when I'm at the gym. And truth be told, you can make excuses anywhere. You can make excuses at home and you can make excuses at the gym. The reality is, I see people that spend more time texting. I'm not saying I do that per se, but I see people spending more time texting at the gym than they are actually working out. And for some people, the gym is actually a social place, right? They go there and they're talking to everybody there. But that's not what we're here for. What I'm trying to say is that you're going to be more effective at the office cold calling than you will at home for a couple of reasons. Number 1, it puts you in a different environment. It puts you in a different element, okay? You're now focused, you're in the office, and your mindset is different versus your mindset at home when you're capable of being distracted by the dog, the cat, the canary, the fish, what have you. There's fewer distractions at the office, okay? Now, again, I know that there's gonna be some people that are gonna argue, well, I can have just as many distractions at the office and I can have at home, and that's true. You know, it's gonna take a little bit of discipline. I would venture to say that there's fewer distractions at the office than there are at home, okay? That's just my personal opinion. You're going to cold call and you see someone working, right? And you see them hitting the phones and you see you hear what he or she is saying and you hear what the scripts that they're using. It's going to help you. It's going to inspire you to do better. There's a saying, when you're having a good day, go to the office, right? Because that energy will help everybody else around you. And when you're having a bad day, go to the office so that the good energy from all the other people there can spread on over into what your day is looking like. So, my recommendation is you go to the office to do your cold calling so that way you're in the right frame of mind and you're in the right environment and you're around other people that are doing the exact same thing so they can inspire you and you can inspire them. So tip number 1, right? In the complete guide to cold calling for real estate agents, go to the office. Step number 2. Make cold calling the first thing that you do when you get into the office. Now, on a normal day, my day starts at 4:30 a.m., courtesy of my wife. She kicks me out of the bed, we get to the gym, we work out till about 7, we rush home, we give each other a high five, she goes her way, I go my way, I handle one set of kids, she handles the other set of the kids. Then what we do is we drop them off and we meet up a little bit later on. I'm in the office typically by about 9 a.m. Okay, that's roughly what my morning is like. And so the minute I get in, if it's one of the days where I'm gonna be prospecting, the first thing I do is I hit the phones. I know that when people walk into their desk, one of the first things that they want to do is they want to check their emails, they want to check their IMs, they want to check their DMs, they want to check their text messages, they want to check their files. I am going to suggest, I'm going to strongly urge you that the first thing you do is to cold call, is to prospect, right? That's what I'm going to suggest, because in the morning is when you have all of that energy, right? And you're ready to go. You're ready to tackle the day. In addition to that, because of that energy, you're also going to have the ability to bounce back quicker, right? Look, let's be real here. When you cold call people, you're going to get beat up a little bit on the phone, or a lot of it, or a ton of it, right? That just comes with what we do, okay? If you get on the phone and you're gonna be calling people, you're gonna get beat up, you're gonna get told no, you're gonna get told that you're the scum of the earth. I realize all of that stuff already. That happens. And so if you're highly energized and you're highly enthusiastic, you're gonna be able to bounce back from those rejections a lot quicker than if it's towards the middle of the day or towards the end of the day when your energy level is a lot lower. And so for those 2 reasons, I am going to suggest that when you walk into the office, you make cold calling, right? You make prospecting the very first thing that you do. So step number 2, make cold calling the first thing you do when you walk into the office. Step number 3 in the complete guide to cold calling for real estate agents. Dress like you have a meeting every single day. I recently did a training where I gave 5 wardrobe tips for real estate agents. I'll put the link to that training on the comment section below. In that training, I talked about the importance of dressing for the job that you want, not for the job that you have. And look, I realize that depending on the region that you live in, right? Some people are going to be dressed a little bit more casual. Some people are going to be dressed a little bit more formal. Some people might be doing business in golf shorts and polos. It really just depends on your target market. But I am going to tell you that I am going to suggest that you go dressed to the office every day as if you're going to meet with your most important client that day. When you go dressed as if you're going to meet with that client, you act differently. We all do. There's a reason that people talk about wearing your Sunday's finest, because you walk differently, you talk differently, you act differently. And that is going to be conveyed on the phone when you're speaking to your clients, believe it or not, right? So when you walk into the office, I want you to dress as if you're gonna meet the most important client for that day. Step number 4 in the complete guide to cold calling for real estate agents. Role play for 30 minutes with someone prior to getting on the phone. Think of this role playing as a verbal sparring, if you will, right? I want you to get a role playing partner. Find someone that you can hold accountable, that can hold you accountable, somebody that is going to be committed to actually role playing with you for about 30 minutes prior to getting on the phone, right? And when you do this, make sure that you guys know how to overcome objections. Make sure that you guys are practicing each other's scripts. Now, there are going to be those of you that are going to argue with me, well, I really don't want to learn my scripts. And again, in another training, and I'll put the link below, in another training I went over the importance of knowing your scripts, right? You really need to know the conversation and the dialogue so that you understand how to handle and how to overcome objections that people are going to have. The truth is, there's no such thing as a new objection. Most of the same objections that we're dealing with today are the same objections that we were dealing with 20 years ago. Objections like the market is changing and prices are going down. And you need to know how to handle those kind of objections. So if somebody were to say to me, hey Paul, listen, the market is shifting, I'm seeing the prices are going down, now is probably not a good time to sell. What I would say is, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, what you're saying to me then is that you feel it's not a good time because the market is shifting and prices are going down. Is that correct? And they'll say yes, right? And then I'll say, well, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, if prices are going down here, then truth is prices are probably going to be going down wherever it is that you're going to purchase. So if prices go down here and prices go down there, really it's just a wash and it's a lateral move. So at the end of the day, the price going down on your home isn't really going to affect you purchasing again, which is why I'd like to apply to be your agent. I'd like to help you get there, and then I close for the appointment. But the only reason that I know how to handle those objections is because I mastered my scripts. I role played with people. I made sure that I listened to audio on what to say, and quite frankly on what not to say. I learned how to repeat, approve, and confirm. These are all things that I learned how to do by having an accountability partner and by role playing for about 30 minutes prior to getting on the phone. Now look, if you don't have an accountability partner, then role play by yourself, right? Role play in front of the mirror. You know, very old school techniques, and I think there's still some people that do it and still recommend it, but what they used to do was they'd have a mirror in front on our desk when we were making those calls, and so that we could see our face and what we look like as we were talking to them, right? Were we smiling? Were we down? Were we high energy? Were we low energy? And we could see this. So make sure that when you're about to cold call, that you spend at least 30 minutes prior role playing and practicing your scripts, all right? Step number 5 in the complete guide to cold calling: play some music. Now, look, I'm not suggesting that you have music blaring as you're cold calling so that you can't hear the conversation. But what I am suggesting is that you have some uplifting, some upbeat, some up-tempo music in the background so that it's not so quiet, so that it's not so dead. In these days, because we have things like Alexa and Google Home, it's not that difficult to just have it right near the desk and say, hey, Alexa, play Calvin Harris Station, and then she'll actually begin playing that music for you while you're doing your cold calls, right? So when you're getting ready, when you're after you've practiced your role playing, make sure that you have some upbeat, some up-tempo music playing while you're doing your calls. Step number 6 in the complete guide to cold calling for real estate agents: stand up. I am going to suggest that you stand up when you make these calls. And the reason that I'm going to suggest that you remain standing is because it does something to your confidence, you sound more affirmative, and your posture is different. And so when you're making these calls and you're standing up, it almost empowers you. I want you to stand up. And these days there are tools like Veridesk. There are desks that can electronically rise and lower. In fact, this video is being filmed on a desk that I purchased from IKEA. It'll set you back about $400 that can electronically raise and lower itself. It's kind of like an architect's desk. I'm going to suggest that you purchase one of these items so that when you make your calls, you are physically standing up, right? And making the calls. You sound much more confident when you're doing this. So stand up. Step number 7 in the complete guide to cold calling for real estate agents is to get in the game. I want you to get in the game. What does that mean? What I mean by that is you can watch as many videos as you want. You can be sitting right next to a top producer that is proficient in cold calling or prospecting, right? You can do all of these things. You can watch this video over and over and over again. You can practice your scripts 2 to 3 hours a day. But at the end of the day, you're ultimately going to have to pick up the phone and make those calls, right? I mean, I akin this to going to the gym and watching other people working out and then hoping that you're gonna gain more muscle. It's not going to work. So when you get into the office, you will probably have all the best intentions in the world to get in there and get to work, and then you're sitting right next to people and you're hearing what they're saying and you're admiring them, and that's all great and that's all positive and that's all well, but at some point you have to pick up the phone and you have to make those calls. And initially, let me forewarn you, you're probably not going to be good. It's okay. You're going to make some mistakes. You're going to say the wrong things. You're going to get your scripts wrong. It's okay. You have to be bad before you can be good. But don't let that deter you from not even starting, right? So you have to get in the game. You have to get into the office and you have to pick up the phone. And those first few phone calls are probably the hardest because you're busy thinking about what everybody else is thinking about what you're gonna say. And ultimately, what you will discover is that most people, right, they're so wrapped up in their own heads that they're too busy worrying about their own problems to think about what it is that you're saying wrong or pronouncing wrong or doing wrong when you're making those calls. So at the end of the day, you owe it to yourself, you owe it to your family, you owe it to the people that you love for you to get in the office, get in the game, pick up the phone, make those calls. Step number 8 in the complete guide to cold calling for real estate agents. Start with expired listings, your sphere of influence, and for sale by owners. Okay? Now, I am going to suggest that when you start making your calls that you start working with the expireds, okay? And the reason that I'm going to suggest that is because, and you're going to have to forgive me for using this analogy, but they're the low-hanging fruit. In other words, these are the potential clients that at one point or another expressed interest in getting their property sold, and some of them still want to sell. So start with the expired listings, right? You're gonna make sure that you have a list of the expired listings. Now, 20 years ago, I had to go into my office, I had to pull the MLS sheets, I had to see the properties that have expired, and then I would have to go in there and I would have to pull those numbers manually so that I could call them and find them. Back then we were using whitepages.com. I was calling 411 to get their number. Fortunately for you, you don't have to do that anymore, right? These days, there are services that will, online tools, right? Auto dialers that will connect you directly to the expired listings. And again, there's a cost for it, but it is worth it. Trust me on this. I know what it's like to have done it 20 years ago, and the time that it takes to go there and pull the expired list, find their numbers, call them, you know, that time is money. So you're going to be paying for it. Either you pay for a service that is going to provide you with these numbers and connect you directly to that client, or you do the work yourself and you're still costing yourself time, which in essence is costing you money. So I am going to highly suggest that you sign up for these services that can provide you with the contact information for the expired list. Start calling expireds. After you're done calling your expireds, I want you to move on over to your sphere of influence. What is your sphere of influence? Those are people that know you, that like you, and trust you, okay? And we'll cover a little bit of the scripts for each of these different types of calling that you're gonna be doing. I wouldn't call sphere of influence a cold call though. It is a prospect, but these are more of a warm call. These are people, again, that you know and that like, that know you, that like you and trust you. And essentially, you're gonna be calling them and you're gonna be asking them for referrals, right? So you're starting with expireds, you're gonna move on to sphere of influence, and after that, you're gonna go over to the for sale by owners. Now that the market is slowly starting to shift, right? And I don't want to date this video because I'd like for it to be valuable for years to come. In an accelerating market, it's easier for sale by owners to sell their property, right? Because prices are accelerating, okay? Anybody can put a sign on a piece of property when values are going up and sell it. But when the market shifts and it slowly turns into a buyer's agent, it's much more difficult for the for sale by owners to sell their property themselves without the assistance of somebody that does have some type of marketing experience and negotiating experience in real estate to sell the property for them. That doesn't mean that they can't do it. I know plenty of people that have sold their property on their own and were very successful at it. You know, Godspeed. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But understand that the vast majority of it aren't going to, vast majority of those people aren't going to be able to do that. So you start with the expired listings, you move on to your sphere of influence, and then you also work the for sale by owners. That is how I would make sure that I cold called or prospected in that order. And then later on, we'll talk about, you know, the just listed and just sold. But if I'm brand new, I'm just getting started, that's the order that I would start in. That's who I would call. Step number 9 in the complete guide to cold calling for real estate agents. Where do you get your lists? Now, there's a couple different options here in terms of where you can get your lists. I alluded a short while ago about the auto dialers, and many of these auto dialers I'm a subscriber to. I'm a subscriber to Vulcan, I'm a subscriber to Mojo, and if you don't know what I'm referring to, just check below and you'll see the links to those companies. I'm not really going to do a review on those dialers in this training. I may do another training where I actually break down which dialers I like and which dialers I don't, and the pros and cons of each one. But I am going to suggest that you use one of these auto dialers to supply you the lists. It's a lot easier. They scrub their lists. So, and when I say they scrub them, that means that they make sure that the people on the list aren't people that are on the DNC, the do not call list. And we don't want to put yourself in any hot water, and we definitely don't want to put the companies that provide these lists with us in any hot water. So, you know, let them do the hard labor, let them scrub the list, let them make sure that they provide you with the best contact information for the people that you're thinking about calling. But the other alternative is for you to do it the old school way, and the old school way is to go to the MLS, check out which properties have expired, download those lists, and then just do a search for those people. And the thing is, you can search for them using tools like whitepages.com. I personally subscribe and use a tool called SPOKEO, and I'll put the link at the bottom again, SPOKEO.com. And what that does is it provides you with that person's, or the last known contact information for that person. So it'll have their email address. In many cases, it will also have their contact information on social media. I will say this though, if you're going to be contacting these people as an expired listing, right, and you're going to get those lists from them, then what you're going to want to do is you want to use everything at your disposal, right? So you know that a lot of telephone numbers now are mobile phones. That's just normal. There's many people that don't have home phones now. They only have mobile phones. So the other alternative is, as opposed to just calling them, you might want to also consider texting them. And there are services that you can subscribe to that can do mass texting. I'm not going to really go into that in this training, but you can text them from your cell phone. If they're an iPhone user, one of the advantages is that when you punch in their cell phone, it will automatically turn blue, and so you'll know that you're texting a person with an iPhone user. The other interesting thing to note is that if you are going to be communicating with them and getting a hold of them through the iPhone, the chances are, if they've registered with their email, you can also iMessage them through the iPhone using the email address that either was provided to you by the auto dialing company or the list provider, or provided to you by the company that was providing you their information. In my case, it would be something like SPOKEO. Okay, and I would shoot them a message as well, in addition to me trying to call them, and the message would be as simple as, hey John or Jane, I see that your property was just taken off the market, when are you going to sell again? And then my name and my email information, maybe my email address. I will tell you though that, you know, a lot of agents are doing this at this time, and so understand that you're not going to be welcomed with open arms. That's just the nature of what we do. So you have to do something unique, and you have to try to set yourself apart from all the other agents that are also going to be prospecting and doing the exact same thing. That being said, okay, I am not training you so that you could worry about what everybody else is doing. In other words, I've had some agents come into my organization and they'll say something to the effect of, well, Paul, if everybody else is doing this, then why should I do this? This isn't going to work. And that's not necessarily true, and here's why. There will be some people that will not relate to me for whatever reason. I just remind them of someone that they don't like. I may not even know that person, but just because they in the back of their mind, they had a negative experience with someone that looked like me, they may not want to do business with me. I can't control that. So as much as I want everybody to like me, as much as I want to relate to everybody, not everybody is going to relate with me. And likewise, not everybody is going to be able to relate with you. So the people that can't relate with me might relate with you, and vice versa. You don't want to operate from a position where you're worried about what everybody else is doing. Just understand that you will relate to some people better than I will, and you will get those clients, whereas no matter what I said or did, I wouldn't be able to get them. So my message is, don't worry about everybody else applying the same techniques. Focus on you doing what you need to do to get a hold of those clients, okay? So where do we get those lists, right? Step number 9. Okay, we get them from the auto dialing companies, or you do it manually, or you may be able to get mailing lists from your title provider. A lot of times they'll provide you what are called farm packages, and you can do it that way. It's challenging, almost impossible, and they probably won't give you lists that have phone numbers on those farm packages, but that you will be able to approach those people via mail if you get your list that way. All right, so where do I get those lists? That's how. Step number 10. In the complete guide on how to cold call. Scripts. Scripts, yeah, you're gonna have to know your scripts. I know that some people want to avoid this. I covered this in another training, but you have to know your scripts. You're gonna have to know the dialogue. You're gonna have to know what to say, when to say it, and what not to say. Now, I've already talked about role playing, so I'm not gonna dive too much into this because I feel like I would probably be repeating myself. But what I would like to do is I would like to cover some of the scripts that I use, because we did talk about calling expired listings, sphere of influence, and for sale by owners. So in this portion of the training, we're gonna talk about those scripts, and I'm gonna tell you the scripts, the exact scripts that I use to close for my appointments. The expired listing script. I like calling expired listings, and the reason that I like calling them is because these are people that at one point or another wanted to sell their home, and for whatever reason it didn't work out. Now, typically they're gonna put most of the blame, if not all of the blame, on the agent's shoulders. We get it, we know it. When you call expired listings, here is the script that I use. Hi, I'm looking for John or Jane Doe. Hi, John or Jane, my name is Paul Argueta. Listen, we've never personally met. Here's why I'm calling. Your property at 1234 Mockingbird Lane came up as an expired listing on the multiple listing service, and I was calling to see when you might be planning on selling that property again. Never. Terrific. Now tell me, I see it was on the market for about 90 days. During that period, if it had sold, where would you have moved to next? It's none of my business. Terrific. So tell me, when it had sold, were you looking for something larger, or are you looking for something smaller? Something smaller. Fantastic. I see. Now tell me, did you want to stay in the area, or did you want to move, say, out of the county? Which was better for you? So you wanted to move out of the county. Got it. Good for you. And how soon was it that you wanted to be there? Great. So what you're saying then is you wanted to move out of the county, and you wanted to be out of the county about 3 months ago. Is that correct? Great. Mr. John or Jane Doe, I'd like to apply for the job of being your agent. Can I pop by tonight at 6 p.m. or tomorrow morning at 10 a.m.? Which would work better for you? Fantastic. Now, is Tuesday good, or well, excuse me. So I think you got the point. I'm not gonna move on from there. But I want you to notice a few things that I did during that script, right? Number one, the very first thing that I did was I said, you and I, we've never personally met, okay? I am going to suggest, now, there are going to be some that are going to train you from the school of thought that you should identify yourself first. If you call and you identify yourself and you say, hi, this is John with such and such real estate company, you're probably gonna get hung up on. I would recommend that when you contact someone, you say, hi, John or Jane, this is Paul Argueta, we've never met. And the reason that I'm going to say we've never met is because their ears perk up. They don't know what I'm gonna say next. They don't know where I'm coming from or what I'm gonna drop on them. So I start my conversations with, we've never met, and here's why I'm calling. Boom, go right into the script. Your property at such and such came up as an expired listing, and I wanted to know, when do you plan on selling it next? Boom, you move on. Right? That's how I approach the expired listing script, using all of the other techniques that I talked about earlier in this training. So I'm going to repeat everything they say. I'm going to approve, right? Fantastic, terrific, good for you. And then I'm going to confirm, is that correct? And then I go through that process as I'm asking them all of their questions. The expired listings. Once I go through, where would you have moved to next? They're going to either give you another location, or they're going to say, none of your business. I didn't know where. We weren't really sure. Right? So what you are going to do next is you have to be prepared to then shift it to something else. So if it wasn't necessarily the location that was important to them, then maybe they wanted something larger, or maybe they wanted something smaller, right? So I'm going to lean on that. I see Mr. John or Jane Doe. So what you're saying is you really weren't sure where you're going to move to next. Is that correct? Yes, that's correct. That's what they just told me. Fantastic. Now tell me, were you looking for something larger, or were you looking for something smaller? And then I wait and see what they say. I'm using the alternative choice clause, meaning that I'm giving them an option, right? They're going to have to give me one of those answers, or they can tell me, none of your business, go pound rocks, and then hang up on me. That's clearly an option, right? But if that happens, then I move on to the next call, right? So what I'm doing is I am using techniques to get more information out of them so that I can find out how I can better assist them. All right. Now, I also want to know when they wanted to be there, right? So if they finally give me a place and they say, well, I want it to be at such and such place, you want it to be at such and such place. Fantastic. Now tell me, how soon was it that you wanted to be there? And then if they say something along the lines of 90 days ago, 6 months ago, I wanted to be there by the holidays. Fantastic. That fits right in my time frame. I'd like to apply for the job of being your agent. Boom, you go, you start closing for the appointment, right? When you start hearing me, if I'm on the phone and you start hearing me say, so is tonight or tomorrow better for you, you already know I'm starting to close for the appointment. That's just normal closing language for me. Mornings or afternoons, 1 or 3 o'clock, which is better for you? And you'll hear me say which is better for you on a regular basis when I'm prospecting and I'm calling expired listings. Now, I'm going to give you a small twist, okay? You don't necessarily only have to call expired listings from the night before, the day before, the week before. You can start calling expired listings that are about a year or 2 years old, because those are people that clearly a year or 2 years ago were interested in selling. They might be open to that possibility now, right? So don't give up on the people that expired about a year or 2 years ago either, right? Reach out to them. Okay, so that was the expired script. Script number 2. Sphere of influence. Now remember, sphere of influence are people that know you, like you, and trust you. So I wouldn't necessarily call it a cold call, right? But again, these are people that you may not have spoken to for a few weeks, maybe a few months, maybe a few years. Now, a lot of times people say to me, Paul, I don't really want to talk to the people that know me, that like me, and trust me. And I am going to recommend that you contact those people first. Again, in a prior training, I did a training on how to approach your sphere of influence, but because we're talking about cold calling here, I'm going to cover that, a portion of that training again. And I'm going to cover the exact script that I use, okay? So here's the script. I give my friend a call. Hi, John or Jane. Listen, it's Paul. How to get that? Look, I know it's been a long time since we spoke. I'm sorry about that. I dropped the ball. That's my fault. Can I steal 2 minutes from you? Here's why I'm calling. I'm not sure if you know it or not, but I'm a real estate broker. And look, most of my business comes from friends and family in the form of personal referrals. And I just wanted to see, do you by chance know of anyone that is thinking about buying or selling or making a move in the next 60 days? Does anyone come to mind? Nobody comes to mind. Terrific. Listen, can you do me a huge favor? Can I send you 5 business cards in the mail? And when you get those 5, can you just distribute them to anyone that you think might be interested? Can I count on you to do that for me? Great, fantastic. Now, just out of curiosity, before I let you go, listen, when do you plan on making a move? You're not. Terrific. Yeah, it's a great part of town. How long have you lived there? 20 years, my goodness. When are you going to run for mayor? Fantastic. Okay, great. Listen, I appreciate you taking the time. Please keep me in mind should anybody come up that says they're thinking about making a move, and I'm going to make sure that I send these 5 business cards out to you today, okay? All right. I hope you're well. Talk to you soon. Take care. Bye. All right, now look what I just did, right? What I just did was, number 1, I called my sphere of influence, and I acknowledged and took ownership for the fact that we hadn't communicated in a while. So if you're worried about contacting someone that you haven't spoken to in a couple of years, then you know what? Own it. At least admit it, and then just take responsibility for it. Hey, John, Jane, listen, it's been a while. I'm sorry. I've been busy. That's my fault. can I steal 2 minutes? I want you specifically to say, can I steal 2 minutes? Because that way they know that the call is going to be short, right? So they're not anticipating some awkward long conversation. It's very important. And then you tell them, here's why I'm calling. I don't know if you know it or not, but I'm a real estate agent. I don't know if you know it or not, but I'm a real estate broker. See, here's the problem with a lot of people in our profession. Because of social media, it's also made us a little bit lazy because they assume that just because they put their title on their social profile, they say that they're a real estate agent. They say that they're a realtor. They say that they're a real estate broker because they post some pictures about a property that they went to go visit. Because of that, people make the assumption that people are actually looking at their posts, and then thereby they know that they're a real estate agent, and oh, I should give my business to Paul because he's a real estate agent. Wrong. Okay? The truth is, most people aren't actually seeing your content enough anyway, and that's something else for a whole nother training on social media. Don't get me started on that. I'm not gonna go down that road. But my point is, most people aren't even really participating or seeing those actual posts, and as the algorithm changes, they're seeing less and less of the stuff that you're putting out there because all these social media sites want you to actually pay for advertising, right? So my point is, you can't assume that they know what you do. Don't ever make that assumption. Always make sure that you point it out eloquently, right? And you make sure that they understand and then they know what you're doing, okay? So John or Jane, it's been a while, it's been like 2 years. I'm sorry, that's my fault. Here's why I'm calling. Can I steal 2 minutes from you? I'm a real estate broker. Most of my business comes from friends and family in the form of referrals. Do you know of anyone that is thinking about buying or selling in the next 60 days? And I want you to say in the next 60 days because you want business now, right? That's the idea. In the next 60 days. No one comes to mind. Thank you for thinking about it. No problem. Listen, can I mail you 5 business cards in the mail? Get their contact information. Mail those 5 business cards. Can I count on you to give those to anyone that comes to mind, right? You make sure that you hold them accountable. Can I count on you to give out those 5 business cards to anyone that comes to mind, right? Great. Thank you. Fine. Close with, hey, when do you plan on making the move? Right? Again, don't make the assumption. And by the way, these are all mistakes that I've made, okay? Because there have been times when I'm talking to people later on, I've had this conversation with people that know me, that like me, that trust me. And then 2 months later, the property's on the market after I had already spoken to them asking for referrals. And their response was, well, you didn't ask me if I was thinking about buying or selling. So don't assume. Ask them, when do you plan on making a move? Fantastic, right? And if they say never, no problem. But at least you know you tried, you mailed out your business cards. So that's the sphere of influence script. That's script number 2. Script number 3, the for sale by owner script, FSBO script. Okay, now, what you want to do is you want to compile a list of every for sale by owner in your market territory. All right. Now, I know that you can get lists of for sale by owners all across Southern California, but I am going to suggest personally that you only make a list of for sale by owners that you can service within about a 5 to 10 mile radius, right? You probably don't want to go anything beyond 5 to 10 miles, and I'm going to tell you why. The key to working with for sale by owners is to wear them down with your enthusiasm. So every Monday and every Friday, as far as I'm concerned, it's for sale by owner day, and I'll tell you what that means in a little bit. The script that I use for sale by owners is very simple. Here's the script. Hi, John or Jane. My name is Paul Argueta. I'm calling about the property at 1234 Mockingbird Lane. I see that it's up for sale. Are you the owner? You are the owner. Fantastic. Here's why I'm calling. I'm a real estate broker. I know you've gotten calls from a lot of brokers already, and I just wanted to see, are you open to paying a buyer's agent's commission if I bring you a buyer? You are. Fantastic. Listen, I'd like to preview the property for my client tonight, or is tomorrow better? I see. So what you're saying is you don't want me to preview the home until I have a client, and you want me to show up with the client. Is that correct? Fantastic. So what are the showing instructions? Can I show as early as tonight, or do I need 24-hour notice? I need 24-hour notice. Great. So listen, I'd like to make an appointment tomorrow. I'm going to do my best to get my client there, but if not, I'd still like to preview it. So is 11 o'clock good or 1 o'clock better? I see. So you don't want me to come by if I don't have a client. Is that correct? That's correct. Fantastic. I will do my best to make sure that the client is with me. I'm working with, at any given moment, between 5 to 15 pre-approved buyers that are ready to purchase, and I'm gonna find out which one is gonna be there with me. But if they're not, I guarantee you that at bare minimum, I'll be there to preview the property for them at 11 o'clock, or is 1 o'clock better? 1 o'clock, fantastic. I will see you there at 1 o'clock. Now, most agents are gonna get on the phone, and most agents are gonna try to do a survey, or most agents are going to try to ask them a series of questions leaning towards hiring them as an agent. And how long are you gonna take before you hire a real estate agent? And you know you make more money when you hire a real estate agent versus selling yourself, correct? And so they're gonna try to bash them, and I want you to do the complete opposite. What I want you to do is to just schedule a time to try to get out there to go preview that property. Now look, Paul, you made it sound like you have a client. Look, at any given moment, I'm working with about 5 to 15 pre-approved buyers that could be potentially interested in it. Have I spoken to any one of them specifically about this property? Not necessarily yet, and I wasn't necessarily hiding from that fact. I just said I'm gonna talk to them, and I'm gonna do my best to make sure that at least one of them is with me. And if one of them isn't with me, well then, you know what, at least I'm gonna preview it myself so that I can take that information back to my clients. I didn't mislead them. I didn't say that I'm gonna be there definitely 100% with the client, but I did say that I have clients and I'm gonna try to get there. And if not, at bare minimum, I'm gonna be there, and then I close for it again. Right? You have to remember that you're gonna make at least 3, 4, 5 attempts to close for these appointments, right? You just asking, can I pop by tomorrow, isn't gonna get you in the door. You just asking, here, sign the contract, let's get you started, isn't necessarily gonna get the signature. You will have to master the art of closing 3, 4, 5 times. That's where the magic happens, okay? I joke about real estate porn, and real estate porn is where you have someone that says, you come over, I want you to sell the house, and then I already have the contract pre-filled out for you. That doesn't happen, right? So with for sale by owners, you're gonna go visit the property, you're gonna preview the property, you're gonna do the best you can to have a client there with you that would be interested, and if you can't, then at bare minimum, you preview the property. When you get there, your job is to preview the property and build rapport. If you try to show up and close to get them to list the property with you, talk to most agents that are proficient at working with for sale by owners, and they will tell you that 9 times out of 10, they don't list the property right there on the spot when they're previewing the home. Has it happened? Could it happen? Is it possible? Yes, anything is possible, but statistically, that's not the way it works. So don't go into that meeting thinking you're gonna walk in, preview the home, and get them to fill out a listing agreement signature. Does that mean I don't want you going over there without a listing agreement in place? No, have one just in case, right? Just in case, but understand that if you push too hard, every agent's doing the exact same thing. You're not gonna stand out at all. So my recommendation is you go preview the property, build rapport. Now you know what's in your inventory. As a real estate agent, it's your job to know the marketplace that you're working in anyway. So all you're doing is, hey, John or Jane, look, I'm just making sure that I know about all the homes that are available for sale in my marketplace. That's my job. That's what I'm supposed to do anyway. No harm, no foul, right? Thank you for having me over. Boom, that's the meeting. Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna follow up on Fridays, right? John or Jane, hey, listen, it's Paul Argueta. I met you earlier this week. Thank you for showing me the home. I'm really excited about it. I just wanted to make sure that I had a list of all the homes that were available. Are you having an open house this weekend so that if it is open, I can send my clients there or pop by? Yes, it's gonna be open, fantastic. I'll make sure that either I or my clients pop by. Then what you do is, because it should only be within a 5 to 10 mile radius, you make sure that you pop in during that open house, shake their hand, say hi, be excited. Wear them down with your enthusiasm. That's how you should be operating on Fridays. Calling the for sale by owner list that you've created, finding out if the home is still available, because you need to know, right, what the inventory in your market is like, because that's your job. And if it is open, pop by over the weekend. Be excited, be enthusiastic, shake the owner's hand, right? Then on Monday, John or Jane, Paul Argueta here, enthusiasm. Listen, I just wanted to call. Did we sell the home over the weekend? It must have been a great open house, right? And then find out if it's still available. No, it didn't sell. No, we didn't get any offers. No, it's still available. Or they'll say, thanks for popping by. Where was your client? You might get comments like that. Hey, John or Jane, they couldn't come. I'm sorry, but I'm still out there. I'm out there every day previewing properties for them. Appreciate you taking the time. Then you follow up on Friday again. John or Jane, Paul again. Listen, just wanted to know, did the property sell over the last 4 or 5 days? Chances are it probably didn't. You already know this. It didn't. Fantastic. Is it going to be held open this weekend? It is. Great. I'm going to do my job. I'm going to make sure my clients know about it, and I'll probably pop by again. And then you pop by the open house again, right? Because it's within a 5 to 10 mile radius of you. It shouldn't be too far. It should be easy for you to access. 5 mile preferably, right? And then you get in, you say hi, and then on Monday you call back again. John or Jane, hey, did it sell over the weekend? I'm sure the open house was popping, right? I'm sure you had a bunch of people there. Just wanted to make sure that I knew if it was available or sold so that I could keep track of the properties that are in my inventory for my buyers, right? And you eventually wear them down, okay? That's the for sale by owner strategy, okay? So there isn't necessarily a script per se that you should have other than that first phone call to get you in the door to preview the home. And then once you do the preview the home, your job is to follow up enthusiastically, okay? Every time you speak to them, all right? So that's the for sale by owner script. Step number 11, lead with questions. Now, what do I mean? Lead with questions. See, the thing is, most of us, and this all comes with mastering your scripts, but most of us want to make a statement, okay? When you make a statement, just understand that people have the tendency, people normally will question you and doubt you, and it can be argued, right? When you make a statement. But when you ask a question and you get the other person to say what it is that you wanted them to say, then they said it came out of their mouth, and it must be true. Does that make sense? So let me paraphrase what it is that I'm talking about. So if someone says to me, Paul, do you specialize in this neighborhood? My response to that question, as opposed to a yes or a no, would then be, John or Jane, tell me, is having someone that specializes in just this neighborhood specifically important? Or do you want someone that can specialize in this neighborhood and specialize in all the neighborhoods all around it, thereby capturing a larger buyer pool? Which is better and more important for you? Larger buyer pool, or just as specializing in this neighborhood, smaller buyer pool? Which would you prefer? Larger, smaller? Which is better? What did I just do? Now I know what I just said, but now what I did was I asked them which is better for them. And now if they told me, well, larger buyer pool, they answered their own question, right? Common sense. But it wasn't me telling them, because if I was the one to say, well, I don't specialize only in this area, but I specialize in a pretty broad area, that may not have been the response they wanted to hear, and it could have been questioned and even argued. But if I asked them, John or Jane, smaller area, larger area, which is better for you, having more buyers or fewer buyers looking at your home? That's a common sense question, and they're gonna answer it with the larger area. But see, the old me would have committed myself to that response with, yeah, I specialize in this area for sure, because that's what I thought I thought that's what they wanted me to say, right? But that's not necessarily the case, right? So you have to be prepared. You lead with questions. Well, Paul, you're a little young. We really wanted somebody with more experience. That's really what we want. We want someone with more of a sales experience. Now you can argue that, or you could say, John or Jane. Lead with questions, by the way. John or Jane. I see. So what you're telling me then is you wanted someone with more experience. Is that correct? Look what I just did. Repeat, approve, confirm. Okay? You wanted someone with more experience. Terrific. Is that correct? Yes. Okay, great. Now tell me, which is more important for you, John or Jane? Having someone with more experience, or having someone that's younger, willing to work harder, and has access to those same people, those same veteran agents that can come work with me in this, but knowing that you have someone fully committed to just this transaction and just you as my client right now, but still having the backup of these veteran agents. And not just one veteran agent, but 2, 3, maybe even 4 veteran agents looking over my shoulder, making sure that everything I do for you is right. So is having just the experience important, or having the energy and the youth and the commitment and the excitement to get this thing done for you with all of that experience behind me? Which would you prefer? What did I just do? Same exact thing. I knew the response that I was gonna give, And I could have said it that way, but when I say which is better for you, now they have to pick one of the two. And you're right, they can always pick, well, we just want the experience. That's possible, yeah, for all of you negative Nancys or negative Neds, right? You could say, well, they're gonna say they want experience. Yeah, you're right, that's true, that is one option. But the reality is when you frame it right and when you paint it correctly, they're probably gonna choose the option that makes more sense. And this is all common sense, because the truth is, experience doesn't necessarily guarantee sales, right? Because we all know that there's agents in the business that have been in the business for 20, 25 years, never really done anything. They could have been in it part-time and they really didn't sell any homes. Now on the flip side, there could be agents that are veteran agents that have hundreds of thousands, that have sold over $1 billion in sales as well. But at the end of the day, what's most important, right, is having that one transaction and having somebody really focus on getting that transaction for them, having the energy, having everything, having all of that together, right? And if you can frame it properly, then you can respond, you'll get them to make the right response. Now, again, lead with questions. If there's any other type of objections that you can think of where you'd have to respond by leading with questions, comment below and I'll make sure that I give you guys the way I would probably handle it. Another thing that you might get is, do you handle homes in this price point, right? That's something that you might have to learn how to deal with. I see, John, so what you're saying is you really want someone that just handles properties in this price point, is that correct? That's correct. Okay, fantastic. Now tell me, do you want someone that can focus specifically on just this price point, or do you want someone that can focus on a much broader price point, right? Up or down, so that way we have a much larger buyer pool to deal with. Which is better for you? Just this price point or this price point where I can go, up or down a little bit, give or take maybe 20%. Which is better for you? More buyers, less buyers. More buyers, less buyers. More buyers, less buyers. More buyers, less buyers. I think you guys get it. So that's my point. So step number 12, learn how to lead with questions so that they respond back with the answer that you already know you're going to give if you were to make it as a statement. And I hope I didn't confuse you there, right? But bottom line, lead with questions. Step number 13 in the complete guide to cold calling for real estate agents. Learn how to close. I can also call this real estate pornography. Now, let me explain what I mean by that before everybody gets anxious or they ask themselves, did he really just say that? And by the way, I did say that. I said it earlier in the training as well, but I digress. Most people think that you are going to have a client that is going to call you, ask you to come over, ask you to list their home, ask you to pull out the contract, ask you to fill out the listing paperwork, ask you to recommend a list price, and then ask you to approve the offers that come in, and ask you to help them move. Well, not maybe the move part, maybe the move part, who knows? But my point is that that's all a fantasy. That's a dirty, dirty fantasy in real estate. See, the truth is, this is a big decision. And because of that, most people don't like to make big decisions, right? People will procrastinate, they'll stall, and can you blame them? Think of yourself, right? When we have to make big decisions, don't we tend to take a little bit longer to make those decisions? And not only do we tend to take longer to make those decisions, but we tend to need positive reinforcement from other people. We tend to need people telling us that it's the right idea. We tend to need people telling us that we're making the right choice, that we're making the right decision. And in our case, as real estate practitioners, it is no different. You are the expert, you are the professional, you are the one who should be guiding the client through this process and navigating the treacherous waters so that they feel comfortable with what it is that they're doing. So, the idea, the real estate pornography fantasy that people are going to call you and ask you to come over and sign the paperwork is not going to happen. You're going to contact them. Now, mind you, there are people that are going to say, hey, Paul, listen, I'm thinking about selling my house. Can you come and take a look at my house? Tell me what you think it's worth. I've already seen the values on the internet, but I want your opinion. I want some idea of what I could do to improve its value to get the most bang for my buck. You may have conversations like that, but you showing up does not automatically guarantee that you're going to get a listing agreement out of it. And even then, even when they do know of you and know of your expertise and know know of your sales and track record, that doesn't necessarily guarantee that they're going to be sitting there with the listing agreement waiting for you so that all you have to do is sign it. They've already signed it. It doesn't work that way. You will have to go in there. You will probably have to reinforce their belief and their confidence in what it is that you have to offer. Right? And that's something else. That's a training for another topic. But the truth is, you have to, especially for the people that know you, that like you and trust you, you have to step up your game even more for those people, right? Because they have that relationship with you. I'm not saying you don't have to do that with people that you don't know, but I've been in the business long enough to see some people slack off with friends and family because they think, it's friends and family, it's in the bag, I got it, no problem. When in fact, you have to make sure that you elevate your game so that they know that you're good at what you do. So the idea that someone is going to give you a contract on a platter is not going to happen. You are going to have to get good at closing. And closing means you're gonna have to close for appointments, you're gonna have to close for signatures, and really, a very, very famous real estate coach, right, who I went to for years, right? We all know him in the industry. His name is Mike Ferry, has said that a close is nothing more, right, than the ideal end to a normal conversation. Understand that the ability to close someone is nothing more than you guiding them through the process and making them feel comfortable with the decision that they were probably going to make anyway. I don't know if you caught that. They were probably going to make this decision anyway. So all I'm trying to say is that this business is easy when you work with people that are motivated and people that want to sell or want to buy or have to sell or have to buy. Because when you try to work with a client that does not want to buy or sell, you can be the best closer in the world and you still probably won't get them to move into action. Right? Closing is nothing more than the ability to guide them through a process that they were probably going to do anyway, and you did it in a professional manner that made them feel confident that you could get them from point A to point B. That's closing, okay? In a nutshell. And the better you get at that ability, and the better you get at understanding that you're going to have to close 2, 3, 4, potentially 5 times, the better off you'll be. And it's a normal process. It's a normal reaction because, again, this is a huge decision that most people are making. And so because of that, they are going to need to be reinforced. They are going to need to be encouraged. They are going to need to be made warm and fuzzy so they feel like, hey, I'm making a good decision here. I'm making a good decision working with this agent. I'm making a good decision accepting that offer. I'm making a good decision making my offer at the recommended price. These are all normal feelings that you have to get good at guiding them through. But again, you can't convince someone to do something that they don't want to do, right? So if they weren't motivated to begin with, chances are you're going to be working with someone where you're trying to push them through the entire process, and it's going to be grueling. And I don't recommend you do that. And that is not a professional in our industry. All right. So step number 13, right? Learn how to close and get that dirty, dark real estate porn. Get it out of here. Step number 14, the HOCA Method. Now that's an acronym that I created. It's H-O-C as in Charles A, HOCA. And really, no, it's not hookah, okay, for those of you, look, I have nothing against hookah, I'm just saying it's not hookah. It's HOCA, H-O-C-A, okay? And what that stands for is handle objection, close for appointment. When you're cold calling someone and you're on the phone with them, it is paramount that you get good at handling their objections and immediately closing for the appointment right after. The old me would handle their objections and then sit back and hope that they were gonna ask me or invite me over for tea and scrumpets so that we could talk about selling their house. Again, real estate porn, that's not gonna happen. So you have to get good at handling the objection and then closing for the appointment. For instance, if someone was to say to me, Paul, can you get me $1.2 million for my home? My response would then be, John, is $1.2 million the rock bottom price that you're willing to accept for your home? Yes, it is, Paul. That's the rock bottom price. Fantastic. I will make a note of it here. I'd like to pop by Tuesday, or would be Thursday better? Or would be Thursday better? Would Thursday be better? Anyway, you get the point, right? Another question that somebody might ask, Paul, can you do it for 4% commission? Mr. or Mrs. Seller, what you're telling me then is 4% commission is the most you're willing to pay an agent to sell your home. Is that correct? Yes, fantastic. I will make a mental note of that here. I'd like to pop in Thursday, or is Friday better for you? Which would you prefer? I got tongue twisted there. This is the second time that has happened to me. So, my point is, handle the objection, and we'll talk specifically about those objections in a little bit, and close for the appointment. Handle objection, close for appointment. Handle objection, close for appointment. Handle objection, close for appointment. I can almost do the shuffle, right, as I'm explaining this. Handle objection, close for appointment, all right? Step number 14, handle objection, close for appointment. Step number 15 in the complete guide to cold calling. Don't dispute commission over the phone. Okay, now, the old me used to want to beat my chest and you know, talk about, nope, I will only take 6% commission over the phone to my clients, and you know, and really that didn't go so well. It didn't bode very well for me. Yeah, I felt like this big person in the office, and other people heard me, and it made me sound, you know, like I was this powerful agent. But at the end of the day, it really wasn't getting me as many appointments. So I am going to suggest that when you're calling people and the question comes up, right, because it's going to come up, you have to be prepared for the commission question. It may come up, it may not come up. If it's an expired listing and someone says to me, Paul, what is your commission? John or Jane, that's a great question. Remind me again, what was the commission that you paid to your last agent? And they will probably respond with, well, we only offered them a 4% commission. Great. John or Jane, I will make a mental note that the most you're willing to pay is 4% commission. I can see you Thursday, or is Friday better? Handle objection, close for appointment. Now, if they dig deeper and they say, well, Paul, we only want to pay you 4%. Are you willing to work for 4% commission? My response will then be, if we can't agree on a price that makes sense to you and on a price that makes sense to a buyer, then really there is no commission, so there's nothing to discuss. So when I get there, I promise, John, Jane, we're going to talk about commission. But equally as important, I want to make sure that we talk about the price, so I can be there Friday or I can be there Thursday, which is better for you. Handle objection, close for appointment, right? That's how you would handle an expired, okay? Now, most of the time you can get by with John or Jane. Really, you know that commissions are typically about 5 to 6%, okay? Now, when I get there, I'm gonna make sure that we discuss commissions, but equally as important, I want us to make sure that we focus on the price. Because again, if we can't agree on a price that makes sense to you, and we can't agree on a price that makes sense to a buyer, then there's no commission to discuss because there is no sale. I can be there Thursday, or I can be there Friday, which is better for you. Be prepared for the commission question. It may, and chances are it probably will, pop up. They're going to ask it, okay? So you might as well know how to tackle it in the bud, nip it in the bud right now. We did it. We made it through the entire training. Now, here's the deal. There are some other topics that could have dove deeper into, such as the auto dialers and using the auto dialers and my review of the auto dialers and how to use the auto dialers. I didn't really want to go into that training on this video just because of time constraints, and most people aren't going to watch a video that's more than an hour long anyway. So I will be covering some of those topics later on in additional trainings. If there are certain things that you would like to see me cover, comment below. Make sure that you pose your questions, and I promise that I'll get to them. If not by me responding to these questions below, by actually making a training video so that we can discuss it in future sessions. I appreciate you visiting the channel. I appreciate you sitting through these trainings. Some of them do, you know, they take some time, they take some effort. And by the way, not only do I do these trainings, but I consider myself a student at heart, and I am on a regular basis watching online videos. I am a subscriber to tools like Masterclass. And so I'm watching all the things that these amazing teachers are doing so that other people could achieve success. And I hope that in some small way I'm contributing to your success the same way that I've had the other teachers and mentors contribute to my own success. So make sure that you comment below, make sure that you subscribe, and make sure that you ring the alerts button so that you can be alerted anytime we upload a new video. All right? I appreciate your time. Cheers to your success. We'll talk soon.